Hello there, sword friends. I apologize for my somewhat long hiatus. I am still in the throes of moving and doing stuff. So to give a little overview of what I've done in the last month, because I haven't been producing a lot of content and I haven't followed up with my schedule of streaming, it's been moving and moving related nonsense. I moved from one house to a new house. I accumulated more crap over the last several years than I anticipated, and it's just taken more out of me between having kids and getting a little ill and and also preparing the other house that I had to rent for somebody else, and figuring out how to do that and changing childcare and all sorts of other life-related things. Just there hasn't been a lot left in the tank at the end of the day to make YouTube-related videos. But I feel bad. There's been other sword-related stuff that's happened. Vendors continue to send me things. People continue to ask me questions. I keep learning stuff, but I don't have time for video production the same way that I did. And I don't know when that's going to change entirely, but I am going to start putting a little bit of time. My upload schedule will likely not be as robust as it once was, but I will endeavor to still make good sword-related content. Anyway, I do feel bad about all of these things that I've accumulated over time, and I've been really slow to update on. So I figured that I would do one video here encapsulating some of my thoughts and some project updates and things like that. So first is an easy one, and that is project-related updates. Zsey Boomershine has the cable steel wakizashi from Knutson, the cable steel waki that I'm looking forward to. That's going to be polished before it's mounted, which I got approval from the Mystery Man in Black about prior to doing it. I try not to send him polished blades if I can avoid it, because there's a potential to screw it up, and I like to let him, not have to worry about scratching it while he's making scabbards and stuff for it. But anyway, I sent that off, so I should be able to see something from Zsey in the coming weeks, and I'm sure it's going to look ultra Zazzy because he's a sword whisperer. The other bits, the My Little Pony and the Howard Clark Katana that I have going on, haven't proceeded much. I haven't found fittings that really work quite right, and really, frankly, I haven't put a whole lot of effort into it. It's still on my list of things to do, but I have not found fittings that really work well for it yet, and that's the trick. So once I have those, I can proceed with the next step, but there's no sense in really getting too crazy until I have a decent set of fittings. I had thought that the folks at Byzer, or now Cloudhammer Steelworks, would be able to make something for me. They can do some custom-related, CNC-related kind of projects. I'm not sure if that's going to work out exactly as well as hoped. So back to the drawing board, I suppose. Anyway, that's all I've got on projects. The other bits, I've got a cold steel messer from Swordfriend Ian, who sent it to me initially to review, but then he prefers left-handed messers, and he's just a very generous person and said I get to keep it. So I have a cold steel messer. I can give you some general thoughts on that. It cuts actually surprisingly well. It doesn't have a great edge angle, but I was actually able to pull off some cuts that surprised me. And that's, I suppose, the main thing. It's light and easy to move around. It's reasonably long. It locks in your hands okay. It's one of my favorite things from cold steel. I like the way it cuts and I like the way it feels, but it's not without some character flaws. There's the naggle didn't survive and doesn't appear to be in there super well. Also, while the handle locks into my hands pretty well, it's also a little ribby in the sense that it digs in some spots where it wouldn't necessarily be comfortable to train with for a long time. I think that could be remedied with a nail file, or not a nail file, but some sort of file work. If I were to scrape the handle down a little bit, I think I could round it in such a way where it would still preserve that good sensation of locking into my hands without the discomfort that follows. It's really the finger wells, I think, that help lock it in. If I narrow down the spines or the sides, the flats of them, then I think it'll work well. And I also think there's opportunity to put a better edge on it, too. In watching some other reviews, I found out that it's advertised as having a scabbard, or at one point was. I never saw it with a scabbard, so I assumed it didn't come with one, but apparently that was something that was advertised with it. This one, when it arrived to me, did not have a scabbard. It had a little frog, which, I mean, there's absolutely no way I would carry this thing around. It would poke into things and be a giant razor blade poking out. So you'd want some sort of scabbard apparatus. But yeah, anyway. Other than that, it's a reasonably good thing from Cold Steel. So I'm not actually too disappointed with it. It doesn't incorporate, I don't know, the geometry's okay. I'll do a full review on it. But my general thoughts are, for $300 or $400, it's not actually so bad. It could use a little customization though, and that's something that it seems like the blade is built in such a way where if you're reasonably handy, you could do it. The scales give you some opportunity to file it. You're going to diminish the condition. And the naggle, well, it loosened up on me. I think if I had some sort of clamp to hold it down, or vise or something like that, I'd be able to hammer it out and swell the guard in such a way that it wouldn't move around or would be locked in again. I don't know how durable the blade is, but I did cut some twigs and branches, and it held up to general sword-related use. The intention wasn't to destroy it. It's to have, as sort of any input, it have something for me to mess around with. All right. The other swords that I've gotten. So Byzer sent me 4 swords when they were Byzer, and now they're a Cloudhammer or Cloudhammer Steelworks or Cloudhammer something. I have mixed thoughts on the name. Honestly, I happen to like Byzer. I didn't think it was so bad. It was unique, and the more name recognition you get, the more it sounds. And now changing it to Cloudhammer. Well, anyway, it's their choice. Cloudhammer is a cooler sounding name, but I personally like Byzer a little bit more. Anyway, long and the short is John from RVA Katana sent me 4 examples from now Cloudhammer Steelworks, and I got to swing them around. There's a few from different steel types, and basically all of them show some level of improvement from the S7 sword that I reviewed from them some time ago. And the Ito and transitions and all that stuff, everything could still be elevated a little bit, but there's incremental, or at least steps in the right direction to improve. So if you saw that video, it seems like the swords that I was sent anyway, the sample of 4, are an improvement. And so the planes are a little bit smoother, the Ito is a little bit tighter, the transitions are a little bit better. The steel, I haven't broken any or pushed any of them to failure. John gave me the okay to break one of them at RVA Katana and then test some of the other ones on like branches, brush, smacking it into thicker branches, I suppose, is as far as I'm going to take it. But anyway, I've liked all of them is the short answer. I haven't played around with them extensively with the exception of the Yaito, which I've trained with as I've been training and moving. I haven't trained as much as I typically do, but I've played with that sword quite a bit, and I like that there's an Yaito and a sharp one, and they share some characteristics, some similarity. I would still say that the Japanese-made Yaito for about $300, the Minasoka or basic level Yaito from Tazando, tend to be a little bit better for Yaito specifically. However, using the steel sword and then having effectively another steel sword to cut with that's the same weight is something that I haven't really played around with before. And if you follow the idea of one sword, you practice with one, you train with one, you cut with one, it's tough to do that safely with a sharp blade. But if you want to preserve the spirit, or at least some of that spirit, then you can get a blade from Byzer that is steel. It does work for Yaito pretty well. I happen to like it. It's a comfortable training tool. And then you can get a sharp version and have similar fittings, and they seem to be very similar in weight. And then you can have a sharp and a dull sword. And I don't think Byzer does a bad job with the Yaito or with the Yaito. When I look at some of the other basic models out of other forges in China, I've been less impressed. They lack some of the finish quality Byzer seems to have. I don't know. I'm sure there's opportunity to get other Yaito outside of Japan, but Byzer has done a good job with this one. I've enjoyed training with it, and I like that there's a steel one next to it that I get to train with of similar weight, and I found that to be kind of intriguing. So if you've thought about getting a sword and you want something, you like what Cloudhammer, I keep confusing or conflating them with Byzer. I suppose they are the same thing, but I should learn. It's Cloudhammer. If you like the things that you've seen from the previous Byzer video that I did, the new examples that I've seen appear to be a step in the right direction in terms of fit and finish. Whether or not they are the steel that's advertised, whether or not they're more durable, I haven't checked any of that. I still won't check are they made of what they say they are. I don't have the ability to do that. But eventually I'll smash one. We'll see how well it holds up. But the first one from Cloudhammer or then Byzer was pretty good. Anyway. What else? I got some samples from Yeskatana, which is another company that reached out to me and asked me if I'd like to do a review on some of their stuff. They have a following on TikTok and some other platforms, but I don't think they're featured a whole lot on YouTube. I got a blue Zsey katana from them, and then something like a tachi in a steel mount, and in effect, it doesn't necessarily seem, my initial impressions, not having played with it very much, and I should preface that because it's not terribly positive so far. The The initial impressions are that it doesn't seem to be offering anything grandiose, but there's nothing wrong with it either. The sword does what it's supposed to do, but the fit, finish, build quality isn't anything particularly unique, and it seems to fall in line with many of the other forges made from various pieces or components that are sold from other vendors in Longchuan, China. And it's not a bad sword in the sense that it's a ripoff or terrible. The blue one is a relatively inexpensive sword, and the Tachi is a little bit more. When I asked actually for the Tachi, I wanted it because it had a swirly Mitsudome on it, and I was disappointed to find that the example that I was sent didn't have the swirly Mitsudome on it. So it's the same build quality, it's the same sword, but if you were to buy one because you liked a particular moan or artistry or component visually of the sword, it was kind of disappointing to see that it didn't have the look. It has the general look, but it doesn't have the swirly Mitsudome on it, so it's a different layout on the scabbard. Otherwise, I haven't gotten to really play with them. I haven't even taken the Ito out of the little plastic wrap on the Yeskatana sword yet. It seems overall like a little bit of a Zaz sword, and seems to be okay, and it's not just nothing stands out, I guess. And when there's a new manufacturer that enters the already very saturated market of inexpensive katanas, it's nice to see something that stands out or makes it a little bit unique, or has a value proposition, whether it be cost or uniqueness or some sort of special customer service or something, but just something that stands out. And I don't see that from Yeskatana, but I haven't gotten a chance to spend a lot of time with it. So I'll reserve my final thoughts for the review. At the moment, I'm just not, it's pretty lukewarm on the feeling of those swords. One that I am not lukewarm on, though, is the example that I got from Zsey, and it is awesome. That's basically it. It's been a minute since I pulled. I was surprised, I guess, like in a very pleasant way, by a sword, pulling it out of the box and just holding it. And the Zsey one is really nice. Now, I think the sword is roughly $900. They sent swords to Joe from Steel Forged and Fire Sword Knife, and Carl Ruger, and both of them have done reviews or made some videos about it already. I will eventually, but I haven't gotten a chance to train with it. I haven't gotten a chance to cut anything with it. What I can tell you it does have, though, is high marks in terms of polish. The blade polish is really, in my mind, it stands apart and is at another level in comparison to anything else in the price category. So if you're looking for a sword that has some characteristics from a polish standpoint, from an artistry standpoint, if that's something that you admire in antique or Japanese style blades, and you want something that is not inexpensive necessarily, but not thousands upon thousands of dollars either, then this is an opportunity to see a polish like that. I believe Zsey can offer higher end polishes even than this, but I would say that the polish is at just frankly another level than anything else in the price category. It looks really nice. The characteristics in the steel look very nice, but the polish is really where it kind of ends in terms of at another level. It's really what I just talked about with the Yeskatana, in the sense that nothing really stood out and was wildly different. The polish does that for me on the Zsey side of things. There are other things that are nice, though. The balance and feel of the sword is really nice. The termination on the bohie looks really nice. I haven't had the sword apart yet, but it looks well shaped. It fits in the saya well. It draws well. It feels very pleasant. It almost feels like an Iaito. It's very light. It's going to be very fun to move around. And on close inspection, there's just a lot of cool details in the steel that the polish has revealed. The blade may be made in such a way where it has, folding and other, I don't know, I haven't really looked actually that close at it, but the polish is very nice. The Kisaki appears to actually be burnished instead of just sanded another direction. Lots of things to admire in the surface of the steel. How well it holds up, I don't know. I'm probably not going to be breaking the sword either. They sent me a nicer one. I don't think people that are buying a Zsey sword with higher end polishes are looking for durability. I will cut with it. I will push it. I will do things that are abusive, but I'm not going to intentionally try and take it to the croquet stake of doom and break it in half. Anyway, I'll practice with it a bit and see how well it cuts and holds up to that kind of stuff, though. The fit and finish on it, though, is not bad. It's just not at the same level. Now, is it at other swords in the price point? Yes. So it certainly, I would say, meets expectations in the sense of fit and finish for an $800, $900 sword. A lot of people expect the world. That isn't frankly the case. But honestly, it doesn't really stand apart from other swords from Huawei, at a little bit less. So it's tough to really nail fit and finish. Very few companies do it. Zsey, I think, has opportunities to improve. The fittings on them didn't seem to be terribly unique, but they weren't bad. Transitions and build quality and all that kind of stuff really weren't too bad. But I think there's opportunity there to make it nicer. The polish on the blade is very nice. The finish work on the metal on the blade is very nice, but the fittings as well as the Tsukamaki on it is not necessarily the greatest. The materials, I think the silk does feel very nice. It doesn't feel cheap at all, so that was nice. It wasn't given with synthetic-y silk or anything like that. The panels on the Samigawa, I don't know if it's a full wrap or if it's panels, but I think it's panels, appear to be very nice skins. I'll do a full review on it, but I just thought I'd let you know. Initially, if you're buying a sword as a collector or somebody that likes to admire the sword aesthetically and has no intention of cutting with it, it appears to be something maybe worth your attention, because it has some special characteristics in the steel and a polish that is very, very pretty. I happen to really like that aspect of it. It feels really nice in the hand, and I'm actually really looking forward to training with it. I'm kind of excited to do it. I pulled it out, and I didn't get a chance to look at it too much, but I would say it was exciting to me, and seems like when I held it, I had positive feelings. It made me feel like it was likely worth the asking price, which, I don't know. I have to reserve my final thoughts for the extra review, but I thought it gave me a very good first impression. I can say that. There are other things that I've gotten aside from swords as well. So Romance of Men is sending me some more swords to actually review. I've had a couple examples from them that haven't showed the same growth, and they've asked to make some improvements, and then for me to do a follow-up review. Those should be on the way. But they also sent a suit of armor. So on Romance of Men's website, they also sell armor. They may be able to send some component pieces for me to destructive test, but the intention of the armor isn't to be completely functional. So it's not sold as functional samurai armor. It's sold as more of a suit you can wear that replicates it, that's made of mild steel, but it's not tempered. It's not sold as functional armor. So I might get some pieces to actually ping and ding. I'll wear it around. I'll try to do some exercises and kata and such in it, but I'm not going to destroy it, because it's done actually for use. It's not made to be destroyed. But if you want to wear it out, then you certainly can, and it looks great as a decoration, and those are the things that it's supposed to do. I've been looking at armor a little bit more. I have a set of Hanwei armor that is similar, but still quite different. I can compare and contrast some of those things, and I've been looking at bad examples of armor and some antique armor, and it's a new category for me, so I'm really interested in that. Initial impressions, though, is that the armor that I've got, it had some minor issues with shipping. All in all, very small. I did some of that on a stream, but it actually fits well. They took measurements and adjusted them well. I don't have like the sash to go around the armor. I don't have footwear for the armor. I don't really have the appropriate pants. I have a hakama or something like that, but I don't have the pants that a person would wear to do it, and those aren't currently sold at Romance of Men for me to ask them to include. But there are some other things that you might want to get other than the suit of armor if you're to wear it around. When I do wear it around, it's gonna be a little hokey, because I don't really have the whole get up. The armor is one component, but there's some undergarments that one might require that I do not currently possess, as well as footwear. Anyway, overall, it's not bad. I've looked at some bad examples of armor. There's an Iron Mountain Armory website that talks a little bit about armor, and they show, and I don't know why this one came in an Iron Mountain Armory box. I don't believe it's sold or affiliated with Iron Mountain Armory. Maybe they were just extra armor boxes. Not exactly sure, but some of the examples of fakes from Iron Mountain Armory that I've seen have a lot of things that I don't see on this armor. It looks pretty right and tight, and overall I'm really impressed. I know it's not an inexpensive thing, but it's actually it's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to playing with it. I haven't actually put it on and worn it entirely yet, but I did put individual pieces on the arms and the legs, and I briefly put on the torso piece. Fortunately, somebody called out in the comments that the poofy belt is for under, and it keeps the piece from kind of digging into your hips, and it does exactly that when I put it on correctly. So anyway, I have some stuff to learn about armor, but I haven't worn the whole apparatus yet, and when I do, it will be kind of incomplete. I'll have the wrong pants, and I'll have to put a different type of obi on, because I don't have the appropriate sized obi or sash to go around the armor. Anyways, that is, I think, just about all of the sword-related stuff that I've got going on, or at least that's been new and sent to me. Nope, there's things I forgot. One, there was a katana from Bud K, well actually a wakizashi, a Honshu line wakizashi that was sent my way for the purposes of review, one that I solicited. I reached out and said, hey, I'd be happy to review one of these things. They sent the Honshu waki my way. My intention is to push this to failure. I think that people that are buying this do intend to use it. I've seen other reviewers talk about the Honshu line and push them quite a bit, and so my intention is to use them for normal things, backyard kind of brush cutting, that type of stuff, and then eventually push it to failure, see how long it takes, how far your dollar goes there. But I'll put a link in the description down below to the one that I got if you're interested, and a review will follow in time. There's another Euro sword that I've mentioned a few times and shown a little bit, but haven't really talked much about, and it is a piece from the Art of Fire and Iron, and it's a Hemaline sword. Again, I'll put a link in the description down below, and it's I believe a Type 15, Type 15A or B, I don't know, I get lost in the typology side of things, but it reminds me a lot of my Albion Mercenary, and in a good way. It feels really nice in the hand. It shares some quality. It's like a mix between an Albion and a Ronin, if you will. There's some components on it that are not quite at the same finish level, but there's a sense of dynamics and balance to it that also feel really nice. And I like the way the handle index is, and I like the grip, and I like the way it moves, and it came very sharp. And I happen to like the sword. Now, I haven't gotten to spend a huge amount of time with the sword, so and for what it's worth, I don't study historic European martial arts, as I mentioned many times on the channel, so take my thoughts and musings on them with a grain of salt. But I like the way it moves. I think it's not overbuilt or clunky, and at least it doesn't feel that way to me. But it kind of captures a different take, but in the same vein as my Albion Mercenary. It's similar in those ways. When I do the review, I'll get the dynamics on both. Maybe my jelly brain and lack of experience in the area is not helping anyone here. But I will. I would say my first impressions of that sword are pretty good. I opened it, and honestly, I had no idea who it was from. They didn't send me like a notification like, hey, we're sending you a sword. It just kind of showed up one day, and there was a card inside the box. Threw me off a little bit, but I've since opened the sword, played with it a little bit, and general first impressions are high. But I haven't cut with it. I haven't swung it around a whole lot. But again, those are my musings on that one. Another one that arrived in the mail, actually while I was doing the editing, but since I'm recording this, I figured I'd throw it in, is a sword from Cloudhammer, or Byzer. Getting a little better at the names already. Anyway, it's a gift, I guess, that they're sending my way for doing a review, which is kind of funny, because it's strange to get a gift of a sword for breaking a sword that you got for free. But boo-hoo for me, right? Anyway, I much appreciate the gift. It's very kind, so tip of my hat to Cloudhammer. Best of luck with the new name, and thank you for the gift. And some initial thoughts on the sword. It has some features, so I'm not sure what steel it's made out of. RVA Katana, John over there sent it to me and told me what it was, but I'm sure it's sufficient. I'm not a nerd. I'm a steel nerd in that way, but so long as it does katana-like things, I'm pretty cool with whatever steel it's made from. It doesn't have a whole lot of characteristics in the steel itself, but it does certainly in the handle, and so fittings-wise is where it gets a little zazzy. And there's some cool stuff to note on here. One, the Ito is tight, and I would say it shows it's even a little tighter than the other 4 examples that I mentioned earlier in this video. It has a pretty cool habaki on it, which is different, and I like to see this. I like to see the things that Cloudhammer is doing that are a little bit different than everyone else. And I don't see kind of the open face habaki on many swords. It's not a common thing. Sometimes I see it integrated into Chinese style swords, but I don't see it often on Japanese style swords. It's an emulation of a very high-end thing. The casting on this is passable, and it's certainly a far cry from a handmade and engraved one, but it's cool, and I like the attempt, and I think it suits the fittings, and so I'm pretty happy with it. There's also an Okasaki that has a geometric transition without a Yukote put in it, nearest I can tell anyway, and it's cool. I like, it's not a grind that I commonly see on a sword, and so it's nice to see that feature as well. There's a kojiri on the end of the saya, so the scabbard has a little metal cap on the end of it, and the saya tapers a little bit. In my mind, it tapers too aggressively in the top third and doesn't kind of gradually flow as well as it could, but I like to see that there's attempts being made to profile the scabbard, and that a kojiri is included in that. It has kind of a cohesive theme to it of stuff. So it's a little bold in color. I think maybe I can't remember what it was, but like something that patinates the steel and might blacken or darken some of the grooves and spots in there could go well, and that might be something for me to explore and play with. The fittings do have some ledges, there's imperfections and things like that on it, but honestly, it's just cool, and I think shows some of the other characteristics that Cloudhammer is doing to differentiate their swords. I like the Okisaki, I like the fitting set, I like the open habaki, and I think they're incrementally moving in a pretty solid direction. No idea what this one would cost if you wanted one like it, but I'm sure John at RVA Katana could help you if you're so inclined. So, what else? Alright, sword friends, my brain is jelly. There may be other things that I've missed, but as far as I know, that's all the swords that I've gotten and haven't talked about, probably. There's probably some stuff that I'm missing. If I did, I apologize. I have jelly brain. But I do know there are some other things coming. There's a company called Dragon Katana that reached out to me. I hadn't heard of their wares before, and they're sending some samples. I'll let you know what happens there. Swordfriend Ian as well noted that he is gifting me a messer from Lands Connect Emporium, which is a very generous and kind thing to do. But more than that, I'll admit I've been pondering buying one for some time, and I still may do that. But the thing is, he got him to, well, he sent me some glamour shots, so I have some idea what it is, but I believe it's a Gustav, it's a Gunther blade with a Gustavi style handle, and it's a combination of two things that I've really liked and some stuff that I haven't experienced, and it's I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be really cool. So that, I believe as well, is coming, and I'll note as well that Lands Connect Emporium, I'll admit that, like, as I pondered what to get from them, it's because there's been like two products, the Gunther and the Gustav, that I really, really enjoyed. I thought they were both very cool for different reasons, and they surprised me in different ways. But I liked all the samples that I got to check out from Lands Connect Emporium. And the last 5 that Ian sent in particular, the Falk that I played with earlier, it was fun, but it didn't strike a chord with me the same way all of the other examples recently did with Swordfriend Ian. He lent them to me for a really long time. And I guess, admittedly, as a customer, my aesthetic preference is that of like machine perfection. I tend to gravitate towards that myself, and so if I'm looking at what a person is going to buy or what I'm looking to buy, it tends to be more in that realm. And I understand that there's a logic of historical accuracy, and I care about that in some cases, not in others. But Lands Connect Emporium, I would say, has I don't know if it's an acquired taste or something, but it's given me a deeper appreciation for some of the stuff that previously I would have more or less considered crude. As a reviewer, I don't feel any kind of bias in really noting my personal preferences, because an aesthetic thing is just a subjective personal preference kind of thing. And if I show you what the sword is, regardless of what my critiques on it, you can see kind of the face of it yourself and make up your own mind. But having them around and playing with them really gave me a deeper appreciation for some of the stuff that they do, kind of their take on swords and artistry, and I really liked the way all of them felt. So getting a piece of my own to play with, and having it be a combination of two swords that I really liked and two styles that I liked is something I'm looking forward to. I'm tickled by it. Swordfriend Ian continues to be a very patient and generous patron of my musings and ramblings, and I'm very grateful for it. Anyway, I still may end up buying something else. I'm not sure though. But this is it got put on the back burner with the move and the jelly brain and all of the other piles of swords that I have to figure out. Anyway, I'm sure there's some other stuff coming and going, and I'm just I think I'm out of stuff to talk about at the moment though. So hopefully it's been interesting. If anything in particular is of interest to you on these, I'm making the update because it's been a long time since I've done anything, but also it gives you a chance to ask questions or get more information if you need it right now to make a decision, but also maybe give me some guidance on what people might like to see on some of these style swords, or what might be interesting about them. So if you have questions or you have comments on what you'd like to see in any of the videos, then throw them down there, and I will endeavor to include them if it's possible. That's all I've got, though. Thank you for sticking around. If you've been here for the 30 minutes this video is going to end up being, cheers and thanks for watching.